Hey everyone, it's me, CricketSong with Lunar Wisdom, and I'm here with...
Elliptica 24.
Yay, and we are streaming today on the Sacred Circle. Ideally, we're supposed to be doing this every week, but unfortunately, life and technical difficulties and just stuff got in the way. So hopefully going forward, we can continue to do a live broadcasting every Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which is, what time is it where you're at?
I don't even know anymore. I think it's 11.
Okay. And then I get which is Pacific time?
Yeah.
Which means what? Central is in the middle?
Yeah. Sorry, Central.
Yeah, you're somewhere in the middle. But today we're going to actually talk about tarot. And I believe I have the question and answer set. So I think you can type in a question and it'll pop up. I mean, I think that's the idea. And I'll try to pop over to the YouTube page where this is streaming. So if you put comments, hopefully I'll be able to catch them. This is still trial and error for Tara and I. So
hopefully you can hear me this time because you couldn't last time.
Yeah.
Okay this time though.
It sounds good to me. And I think the camera is actually showing me this time too. So yay. That was so weird. I know, that was so weird. I didn't realize what I had done. Apparently I clicked on my yours or something. Right. I don't know. Whatever. All right. So we're going to talk about tarot. So I have a list of topics or stuff I'd like to talk about, and Tara, if there's any questions. Yeah, definitely. All right, so for you, Tara, do you have a favorite deck, and if so, why is it your favorite?
For my jeez, I put the box in the floor. For tarot, I would say I don't have one in particular, but the one I use the most, or one of the two I use the most, is the Book of Shadows. I don't know if it's in camera or not.
It is.
Okay. Yeah, this is a set of two. There's an as above and so below, and I tend to use the as above the most, especially with life readings.
Oh my god! Do you have a favorite deck? Sorry. So oh my god! What's going on? Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Stop that!
You broke it.
Stop! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I did not realize that page was up. Sorry. Oh my god.
This is just going to be hysterical for everyone.
I know. Now I can't get back to the original. Oh my god, that was so weird. Okay. Sorry.
It's fine. That's fine. I'm just looking at cards. Anyways.
What were you saying?
I use the so below and as above decks, but mostly the as above. Mainly for past life readings. I don't know. It's just, there's nothing super spectacular about the deck, but I don't know. I could probably show a few cards. I don't even know if they're upright or anything. Just the art is not exceedingly spectacular or anything, but it's got enough detail for an intuitive reader to really kind of get stuff from.
I like that card. What card was that one?
Can't read that small print.
Chalices, something chalices. Yeah, I don't know.
I have no idea. If there's four, it's probably the
Four of chalices.
It's the party card.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, it's
so where all the chalices have all like that blue color, or
I've never really paid attention, but I don't think so. I believe it just happens to be
okay.
That. But it kind of takes energies from different time frames, different, like you'll see in one like someone buying a house, and then another one you're seeing people like having an altar. It's very interesting. It's very dynamic, I think is the word I'm looking for. It's able to read any subject, basically.
Oh, nice.
It's very diverse. There we go.
And it's a Rider-Waite, based on Rider-Waite, right?
I believe so. I'm not very knowledgeable about the Rider-Waite because I don't even have a Rider-Waite deck.
Oh, really?
I don't know, that type of art has never really, like that traditional artwork has never drawn me at all. I could never get into it. I know, I'm blaspheming.
Hey, no, I mean, if that's what works or it doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for
The
you,
more
you know?
weird the art or more outrageous the art, the more I'm into it. Because I collect on top of actually reading with them as well. So,
Right, right. How many decks do you have in your collection?
God, they keep adding up. I keep losing count. Like as a whole of all decks or just tarot? Because I could
Um,
say about
well, I guess
10-ish.
just tarot. And what are the other decks you collect? Oracle as well?
Yeah, Oracle, and then a few miscellaneous. You can't really put them into any particular. Like there's the tea leaf fortune cards, which is obviously not either those two branches of cards. They're not Oracle, they're not Tarot, they're their own unique system. Um, but yeah, I've got about, I would say roughly about 10 tarot cards or cards, decks, and more Oracle.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
What about you?
yeah, well, right now I'm still working. Oh, I don't even know how to pronounce it. The Los Garabos or whatever that deck is. It has the scarabs on the back. And it's definitely a Rider-Waite base deck. It's the ones that if you see, I think it's my free tarot readings on the monthly free tarot readings that I do. It's the deck I'm using.
Okay.
Although I'm switching over to the steampunk deck. I just recently got that. I just got that in the mail. I don't know when, earlier in the month or in the week. I don't even know. Time is an issue for me right now. Yeah, I love it. I actually love it. I'd show
That's what got me
it.
back into reading.
Yeah, I really like it. I'd show it, but it's sitting on my altar right now because I consecrated it and I'm charging it because I want to switch over to that one. I'm really excited to use that one. I think that's going to be my new favorite. And I find that for me, a favorite is whatever one I'm actually establishing a relationship with and I'm working with currently. So my favorite changes from time to time depending on what I'm working with.
Yeah, I agree. Same here.
So what is your favorite tarot card and why is it your favorite?
Let me find it.
And just to let everyone know, I for some reason can't go back to the YouTube page. So if you have a question, you have to use the Q&A. And I don't know where you go for that. Is that on the Google Plus? Do you know? It says ask your audience to submit questions and they will appear below. So we have 7 viewers. If you have questions, you use the Q&A application.
I believe when you're looking at the Google Plus, it'll have like a QA or something up in the top right corner, and then you click it, and then it opens up. I believe that's how that works, but I'm not really 100% on that.
Yeah, me neither.
We are not technical savvy.
At least not with Google Hangouts. I'm pretty good with other stuff. It's just I don't normally use this for live streaming. I use it for, private video conferencing. So, if you're leaving comments on the YouTube channel right now underneath the video as it's showing, I don't know. I lost the page. I can try to look it up, but
just open another tab and mute it.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I had done. But then, didn't you hear it? Oh look, I shrunk that window, and you guys disappeared. Let me see.
I'm still here.
Yeah. All right, so you tell them about your favorite card, and let me see if I can open up another.
So I generally have a tie for mine, and it's not a shocker. The Death card, and I believe I'm holding up the right ones. Again, for anybody who doesn't know, I'm visually impaired, so I can't read the font at this point. I have magnifiers, but I believe
that's no excuse. What the heck?
The Death card and the Devil card. The art for these two aren't. You gotta love the Devil card. Just
oh yeah, look at that.
It really does explain the indulgence part of that card. Like, you just want to eat from the card. But I don't know. In any deck, they seem to be the two most unique cards out of all the cards most of the time. And I'm definitely drawn to the art, not particularly this deck, but in most decks, those are the two I go right to. A lot of people immediately think they're supposed to be negative cards because of the assumption that death and the devil are always negative, if that makes sense. But with the death card, it's generally understood that it's the ending of something. And then with the devil, it does talk about indulgence, but indulgence is not always a bad thing.
This is true.
We all need a little bit of indulgence, like coffee. But yeah, those are my kind of tied two favorite cards.
All right, I'll share mine in just 1 second. For some reason, I cannot get. I don't know, really. I keep going to the YouTube thing, and it's not showing me the comments, so I don't know. Whatever. Sorry, guys. If you have questions, I urge you to use that Q&A so we can see it. My favorite cards. Let me see. My favorite. Again, this changes sometimes from deck to deck, honestly. I mean, I like that death card. I don't necessarily love the devil. Let me see what my death card looks like in this deck. I like the magician in some decks, but in other decks, I'm not so in.
Steampunk one is pretty interesting.
Yes, I know. I forget who posted that one, and that's why I'm like, what deck is that? That is so cool.
I would say the one other card I really tend to enjoy, and I think that's kind of across the board for any pagan, is the High Priestess.
Oh, yeah, I was just pulling her out. I was just looking at her because she is one I like. Okay.
She does have really good art, too.
So what do I like best? In this particular deck, I do like the death card. He's a skeleton with the scythe. I really enjoy the death card in this deck. Yeah, I really like that one. In this particular deck, I also like Temperance with the sort of yin-yang with the black and white. I really enjoy the imagery and she's got a cauldron. I mean, come on now. Who wouldn't like the Temperance card in there? Yeah, the High Priestess in this one's okay. But I think if I'm looking at all decks, I really enjoy the Queen of Wands.
Really?
I really like her. She's got the black cat, the sunflower. I really relate to a lot of this particular card for myself, maybe, which is why I'm drawn to her, at least in this deck. And I think in a lot of decks, I really like her. But the death card, I think, is number one for me in this card, in this deck. So what's your least favorite tarot card? And why is it your least favorite?
Again, for me, I don't think there's any least favorite so much as there's ones that I am still working on trying to fully understand.
Yeah.
Even if you've been reading for years, there are always a card that you're like, I can't relate to it. I can't quite understand it completely. Now let's see if I can actually figure out which card I'm holding. I think that's the one. The Hierophant. I'm trying to see if it's in the...
Yeah, that's the Hierophant.
Yeah, the Hierophant tends to be not particularly easy for me to relate to or understand. Go figure. It tends to relate to spiritual stuff, but I don't know. I just never... It doesn't... I don't know. It just does not correspond. And then the other two that I just kind of tend to have issues with is the Hermit, but you have to love that card.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like that one.
This one actually helped me understand it better just because of the imagery, and then I believe I think that's the Tower. The Tower seems to be difficult for a lot of people, though.
Oh, that's a strange Tower card.
Yeah. It's a little weird.
Yeah. Huh.
And the other one that I didn't even think of is the Temperance card. Like, I still can't wrap my head around that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I generally, yeah, I agree with you. There's no one I least like, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I'm looking at just the imagery in the deck that I'm using at the present time, I guess I too don't necessarily like the artwork for the Hierophant. It's not that I have a problem reading it, but I mean, he's not very attractive.
Damn it, they're supposed to be.
I know. Well, he kind of looks like, I don't know.
Well, like
I
in the
mean,
steampunk, it looks like, or what is that one? I can't even remember. No, I was thinking the Hermit.
yeah, I like the Hermit. Actually, the Hermit in this particular deck, I really like. Oops, I really like the Hermit in this particular deck. Um, he looks like an old wizard to me. I really like him in this deck. I guess imagery wise, I don't necessarily like that Hierophant card. Yeah, I guess. So then Oracle decks. You do use Oracle cards?
Oh, quite a bit.
So what's your favorite Oracle card deck?
So right now, since as we mentioned, it's usually the ones we're using the most at the time is the
Ooh.
Goddess and Sirens, which is one of my newest ones that I obtained. For Mother's Day, I kind of splurged on 4 decks. So I was like, I'm going to get that one. It's been on my wish list forever. The artwork is really beautiful.
Oh yeah, look at those.
Yeah, and anything pretty much that has Goddess in it, I'll probably get as a deck.
Oh, I really like those.
Yeah. I don't know why, but they kind of remind me of the Final Fantasy X games. I'm a nerd.
I was looking at what you were showing us, and I'm like, ooh, the goddesses sort of look like superheroes.
Yeah, well, they're all in the what would you call it? Like, they're supposed to look like badasses, basically.
Yeah.
And even the softer goddesses they're known for being like softer deities. They're still portrayed as like, don't screw with me because I'll beat your butt, kind of
nice.
stances and stuff.
I just realized I don't have the Oracle card deck that I'm using sitting right in front of me. So you're gonna talk to them, and I'm gonna go scooch and get them.
Okay. Hello.
So talk about those goddess cards again.
Well, I can share more. And I have done a lot of these, like kind of first impressions of a lot of my Oracle decks, so you can see any of them on my channel. But these are really good cards just for anybody can really use them because they have just simple messages and you can get to know the goddesses as well. I mean, it doesn't have every goddess, but I don't know. I find them extremely easy to use.
Yay, that was good. Yay. All right, so the Oracle cards that I'm using at the present time, I don't really do a lot of Oracle cards. I think I own 3 Oracle card decks. One is Doreen Virtue's Goddesses. I have that deck. And then I have Wisdom of the, what is it called?
Hidden
Wisdom
Realm?
of the Hidden Realm. Yeah.
I just got that one.
They have the chalice on the back. And they really feature, I think, like the messengers from Avalon, and it has things like the goblin. He's so cute in that. The high priestess.
It's definitely spiritual related. For
It
this
is.
deck.
And then they have animals, or animal guides of Avalon.
And I'm really pretty unfamiliar with the Avalon stuff. Like, I don't really know anything about it.
About the myth, the mythology and stuff. I actually am very drawn to that mythology. So I really enjoy this deck. And then it has like markers on your life. I think that's what's called. The Sacred Journey markers. Is that? I can't even read that. The lighting's pretty bad in here.
Yeah.
Like restriction. But these cards I really enjoy, and I've done a handful of readings with them, and I find that they are really, I connect with them and resonate with them really well. So I really am enjoying exploring life with these. So that's my favorite deck. Not that I have a lot to choose from, but I'm really enjoying them.
Yeah, and the other one was what? The Goddess Guidance deck, you said?
It's Dorian Virtue's. Yeah, is that the guy? It has
It's the yellow box.
Yes, that one.
Got both those decks.
Yeah, although I was using those goddess cards for a while, and I don't know. I just I don't know.
You can get burned out with that deck a bit.
Yeah,
At least I have.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that they're goddesses, but I just couldn't really connect very well with them, I guess. And when I had decided I wanted to start exploring some oracle cards, I had asked a friend, who the owner of Three Suns, the metaphysical shop I work at on Thursdays, and she suggested these oracle cards, and I looked at them and I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta get these. These are good. I can work with these. The other deck, I don't know, it's not really considered an oracle card. And I think, like you were saying, you have some cards that are not quite tarot, but they're not oracle, and you don't know how to...
Even if they may even say oracle or tarot on it, it's like,
on them.
Not really.
Yeah. I have a deck. They're soul cards. And if you're part of the Sacred Circle on Facebook, in the Facebook group, you're familiar with what they look like. And how I post a card like every week, so that everybody can take a look and share what they see within the cards. The interesting thing about these is they have no set meanings whatsoever. And the little book that comes with the deck when you buy the deck, all it does is gives you information about the deck on as a whole, as how it came about, and then like spreads. Oh, I'm really bad with this camera. And spreads that you can use. There's no little explanation as to what the cards mean at all. Right. So that's what I really like. They're very intuitive. Very intuitive.
I've looked at them when you post it, and I have such a hard time connecting with them.
Really?
Yeah. I think the more abstract the image, the harder it is
for you.
I don't know if that's just visually appealing or visual issues. I don't know. It's just kind of, it's like staring at one of those pictures that you're supposed to get an image out of. That's kind of how that is for me. And I'm like, nope, I just can't do it. Although they're very interesting in the way they're set up, not having any restrictions to them.
Yeah.
A lot of cards have very set rules of how you do it, be it tarot, oracle, or like Lenormand or something like that.
Right. And I guess maybe that's what I like. It's so abstract that it really sort of enables you to really like tap into your intuitiveness. So, I mean, if I think if anybody may have a little bit of a resistance, or they doubt their self at all, or they may have trouble just allowing themselves to go to that place, they may have a hard time. Not saying
it kind of pulls out your subconscious a bit.
Yeah, a lot, I think.
Very psychology.
Yeah, which is right up your alley, my dear.
I wanted to share my favorite card from the Goddess and Sirens. It's
Oh, I like it. I love the artwork in that deck.
It's very. I mean, it's pretty dark. I don't know how detailed you can get.
Oh no, I can see it really clearly. Okay. What does the other side of the cards look like? What's the reverse look like? Oh, I love it.
Yeah, the only thing bad about this deck is it's super thin.
Oh, it's thin.
But it's laminated though, so it'll be pretty hard to actually damage, even though it's pretty thin.
I think I might have to get me a deck of them.
I have not seen too many bad reviews about it. It's always generally a very positive review when I see reviews about it. I like it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly, because you're the one using it. So
I've got a lot of decks I don't use just because I've either lost a connection or never made a connection with it. Like I have a deck called the Demon Tarot, which doesn't really relate to tarot at all that I could find.
Really?
Um, and it talks about like the cards are like different demons or nasty characters and stuff, but it's hard to explain. Basically, you have to look up the meaning in the book that it defaults to because it's very hard to connect intuitively to, but it's a lot of cards. It's like 2 stacks this thick of cards.
Huh.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot
what
of
is
good
the
decks.
like? How are you? Do they have specific layouts, or do they have a way that you're supposed to use those cards?
Um, I don't remember. Honestly,
Okay.
I don't use it enough, and I tend not to read the books because I find reading the books do tend to restrict myself. Like I get something stuck in my head, like it needs to be done this way, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to be able to
Right.
just go what calls naturally.
Right.
You know.
So someone is actually using our Q&A thing. Yay!
Yay!
So we have Grace Moontail who's watching, and she wants to know, how do you go about consecrating a tarot deck, or for that matter, any other witchy tools that you may have? So what's your, I mean, number one, do you consecrate your tarot deck? And number two, if you do, how do you do that?
I don't. Hold on a second. I've got like a window popping up, and I don't know what it was doing.
Okay.
Can you still hear and see me?
Yes.
Okay, that's all that matters. I don't do anything in particular. I definitely, when I get them, I open it up, I look through it, and honestly, I generally let my kid look through it. Um, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but he's autistic, and I find it really interesting to watch him go through. And he goes, "Nope, nope, nope," and then it'd be like this one, and I'm like, okay, so this card, he relates to it somehow, and it kind of intrigues me to see how he interacts with cards. I don't know. I guess in a way that's kind of consecrating it into the family, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't let it sit in the moon or put it over flame or anything like that. I just use it.
Okay. I mean, for me, I do a consecration. I do, just as I would any other witchy tool, I use each of the elements to consecrate the tarot deck, and then I use my own breath to consecrate the deck, and then I generally leave it on my pentacle on my altar for whatever amount of time I have determined when after I'm done consecrating it. Um, and that's what I do. That's how I generally consecrate every deck that I use. It's just something that I feel drawn to do. So
Everybody's does it quite differently.
exactly, exactly.
There is no right or wrong way to do that.
I agree. I agree. I think you really should do what you feel called to do in regards to your deck.
Yeah, I think a good shuffle's good enough for
There you
me.
go. Yeah. Well, I mean, I shuffle in between readings anyway to sort of cleanse that energy. But so when you have a reading that you're going to do for someone or even for yourself, Tara, how do you determine whether you're going to use tarot or oracle? Do you have any sort of, way that you determine which one would be best?
Strictly intuitive. It's like I'm just going to be drawn to a particular deck. And if I'm not drawn to any deck, I just don't do a reading, like for myself, anyways. It's never been an issue when I'm reading for others. Because oftentimes when I do reading for others, I'll ask, do you want me to use a specific deck? And most of the time, they're just like, choose one. And I just go with whatever my gut says to pull out of my shelf, which really needs reorganizing because they're falling everywhere. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just go intuitively.
Yeah. I think for me, like with you, I asked the individual, do you want me to use tarot or oracle? And that's how I determine if I should use the tarot or the oracle. We have someone, is it Kinner, Kinnereth? Oh, wait, is that? I'm not sure what the name is.
Starts with K.
Yeah. Is that you, Bailey? I think I know who that person is. I just don't recognize the name. So she says, I'm sorry I missed the name of the oracle deck that you showed with the Pele card from. What was the actual name of that deck?
It is the Goddess and Sirens.
Goddess and Sirens. Who is it by?
Oh, thanks. Stacy. I need my magnifier. DeMargo, I believe it says Stacy DeMargo.
Okay.
And it's Stacey.
Okay.
So it should be, if you type in Goddess and
Goddess and
Sirens,
Sirens.
it will pop up immediately. It's so popular. It'll just be like Amazon. Here you go.
There you go. I'm going to go check them out because I think I want to get myself a deck.
Mm-hmm. And they're reasonably priced.
Great. So now we're going to get into, how do you believe that it is Bailey? Hi, Bailey. What is your belief as to how the tarot works? How are we able to get insight? How do you think that, how does it work?
I want to hear your answer first.
Oh, you do? Well, okay. So because I'm very focused on energy and spirituality, I honestly feel that tarot is a tool. There are symbols and meanings that have been passed down from years, and because I feel like there are certain images that sort of trigger either archetypes within our subconscious, or they're tapping into larger vibrations or thought forms. I feel like when we use these tools that have been used in this way for this many years, we're tapping into that vibrational frequency. So when we do that, we're actually accessing information and frequencies that allow us greater understanding. So whether you want to call that vibrational frequency the spirit realm, whether you want to call them gods, whether you want to call them other non-physical entities, it's a different vibrational frequency that allows us to get deeper insight to situations. And I think you can look at the cards too and sort of project probabilities. So when we use the tarot to look into someone's future, your 3-month outcome, your 6-month outcome. I'm going to do a tarot reading for the month of June. I feel like you're looking at the greatest probability of what will happen, but it's not guaranteed because, everything is always changing. So that's how I feel the tarot works. What about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with that. I agree. It's definitely a tool. I don't think it necessarily has to be related to spirituality at all, because I know atheists who use tarot, and it's just kind of, they use it with like understanding that it's like the subconscious, because you don't have to be spiritual to believe in a subconscious.
I actually feel like the subconscious is spirituality. People just
right.
Google it that.
Right. But, some people think it's just kind of something to do with your brain, not necessarily spiritual, which I get because coming from originally an atheist background, but I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
I was okay. That they can pull it and get insight. Like they look at a card, say they see the death card and be like, and they understand the death card represents an ending of something. They can see that and be like, what pops into your head first? Ending your relationship. That is something you want to significantly look at. And then there are people who are spiritual who use it for more spiritual enlightenment or connecting with past loved ones or a variety of things. And I don't know, I find it very diverse in what you can do with it. And I believe I got my first tarot deck, my Egyptian tarot deck, way before I even got into paganism, like an active member of paganism. I think that was kind of like my first push into like, okay, I'm opening that door to my spirituality. And clearly that worked.
Mm-hmm.
It made sense.
Yeah, I understood where you're coming from. Grace Moontail says the decks I have are tarot related, of course. Steampunk Tarot, Celtic Tarot, the Book of Shadows Tarot.
Gotta love that.
The House of Night Tarot, and the Rider-Waite Tarot.
House of Night Tarot, isn't that an oracle deck? Because I have the House of Night.
I don't know.
It's based off of a book series, the House of Night book series. It's for young adults. It's vampire related. So I'm gonna of course read it. It's I don't see that as a tarot though, because it doesn't have the stereotype typical like major arcana and then the minor arcana
okay.
and stuff like that. But it's a good deck. Definitely
Yeah,
used it.
I notice sometimes that it seems like you can go into a shop or go on Amazon or go wherever. Some cards are listed as like tarot cards, but they're not. You know, they're not with the major arcana and then the minor. And I wonder if it's just someone deciding to name cards tarot.
Like it's a
Because it,
tag to get someone's interest or something.
yeah, and I don't know about you, but when I think of tarot, I think of the major and the minor arcana. I mean, and if it doesn't have that, I don't consider it.
It's Oracle.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
other.
yeah,
I
yeah.
totally get that. Like the Osho Zen is said it has tarot in it, and I believe it actually has a setup for the major and minor arcana, but it's very convoluted and kind of confusing. But that's a really, really diverse deck. You can use it in a variety of ways.
What is your style of reading, or how do you do your tarot readings, whether it's for yourself or others? Do you have a certain style, a certain way, a certain structure that you read for people?
Are you talking
or
about
for
like
yourself?
the layouts and stuff, or
Just however you go about it. If I were to say, okay, Tara, do a reading for me, what would you do?
Well, I tend to not use any particular spread. There are a few that I have a structure for. Mine is mostly just questions. Like the cards don't have to be in a specific placement. I would like to try to get into doing that just to see how that would affect my reading, because I feel that's like another like advanced stage. I know you do that, and I'm like, oh, that seems complicated. Because I'm definitely like consecutive reading, not like this card relates to this card and this over here and this. It gets a little complicated for my brain to wrap around. But I tend to do like this card answers this question, this card answers this question, and I could read it like a story almost, if that makes sense. Like with my past life readings, it like the very beginning. I have an advanced one and then a smaller one. The smaller one, it goes like where you are from or the era, and then I believe it's like the job, relationships, death, and how it applies to your life now. So there's like a consecutive way of reading it. And then putting it, like I said, I don't have a specific layout style or anything. And shuffling, that is changed up over time. It depends on what deck I use. Sometimes I do I don't even know what they're called, but there's the shuffling like this, and then there's the regular style of bridging the cards, which some people can't stand. I totally bridge my cards. They're bent. I find it just depends on the type of reading and what your gut tells you to do for the shuffling.
Yeah. And I think the way that you were explaining how you do like like you do one card and then another card and I feel like that's sort of like a layout, even if you're not specifically calling it a layout or a spread. I mean, if you consistently place the cards in that way to do that particular reading, that past life reading, then I feel like you've sort of created your own layout anyway.
Yeah, I don't do any like fancy like triangle or round spreads or anything. Just like, okay,
yeah, I mean, I do spreads, but I also do, I mean, triangle, and some of the spreads that you see if you watch my videos, they're just me making up the way I'm always going to lay out the cards, and it sort of becomes it does, and I actually like the way that you can get relationships and connections between the cards. I feel like it gives a deeper insight into what that card is sort of talking about. At least that's my feeling.
How long have you been reading for anyways?
Oh, it's, and the reason why I have a hard time trying to pinpoint it is because it sort of developed over time. So I know that I was living at my parents' after my divorce, and I think I got my first tarot deck shortly after I moved into my own apartment with my kids. So that, I want to say, was 2004. And I was just doing readings
over
for
a decade.
friends. Yeah, a little for friends and family, or not family, friends and coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
And then it grew from there.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
kind of funny.
so
Now that I think about it, I've been reading for about a decade too. That's kind of funny. Just professionally, not that long at all.
yeah. Professionally, it came very, very shortly after I started reading for friends and family, only because of the way things in my life. I think it was a year after that, or maybe 2 years after that. But I went from working at a everyday job, you know, out there in the finance
Mm-hmm. I
field.
get it.
I got an injury and I was out of work. And that's when people said, well, you should start charging for giving these readings instead of doing them for free. And at the time I was like, oh, well, that sort of makes sense. It'll help out because I wasn't getting income from my job because I was out.
Mhm.
So, and then it just, when I finally left that job because there was no way I was going back, I just put more time and energy and effort into actually doing readings as a job, as a professional. So, yeah. So it kind of developed over time. So when people say, how long have you been reading? I'm like, I don't know.
Technically,
A long time.
just a decade.
Yeah. All right. I'll say a
Round
decade
up.
from now on. I'll say it's been at least a decade. All right. So, how much do you rely on your intuition when you read the cards, whether they're tarot or oracle? Do you rely more on, and I think I know the answer to this question, but for the viewers that we have, which just dropped down from 13 to 9, but that's okay. If we, look at, people who seem to really rely on the traditional symbolism or on the little book meaning of what these cards mean, do you rely more on that, or do you rely more on your own interpretation of the cards?
For me, I would say it's probably like 3/4 intuition and a fourth, like 1/4 traditional. Because I do use the traditional meanings. I implement it some way generally, but it's definitely my gut will tell me what the cards are supposed to represent and how they're supposed to be interpreted.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too. 3/4 intuition, a fourth traditional.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm with you on
Yeah,
that.
and because I know you've seen that I'm going through
Mhm.
3 decks right now, and each looking at each card and what the traditional meaning and how I intuitively kind of read the card, and I'm learning more and more about the traditional meanings that way. And then sometimes I look at cards, I'm like, that makes no sense traditionally.
Well, I think too, it depends on the artist's interpretation of what the traditional meaning is.
Right.
Because let me show you,
It's like
let
the
me
Gothic
find it.
tarot is very confusing sometimes.
Let me find, where's that card that I feel like, oh, hold on, let me find it. I can't remember. I got to look at it. It's a pentacle. I think I want to say it's the Six of Pentacles. Do you have the Six of Pentacles available in your deck?
Oh God. I'm not going to be able to see it. I'd have to run back and use my magnifier. But yeah, with this deck, it's kind of non-traditional
Yeah.
meanings, so it'd be kind of difficult to see.
I'm trying to, I don't have my rider weight with me either. My regular rider weight. I think it's the Six of Pentacles. I'm trying to find, yeah, it's the Six of Pentacles. I think if I'm remembering correctly, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe in the rider weight, the traditional rider weight. The Six of Pentacles is a man sort of giving money to these two beggar type images. He's holding a scale in one hand, and I think he's sort of standing, and he looks like he's dressed in all these fancy clothes, and he's, like giving charity to these individuals. Okay. I believe that's the traditional Rider-Waite image. In this deck, this is the image, which, yes, it's still hands giving coin, but this particular artist has taken the people out of it completely. And where I know when I look at the traditional Rider-Waite and I see, oh yeah, I see charity in that. This I actually read as equal exchange, which has a little bit of a different meaning,
Yeah,
but it's
definitely.
similar. You know what I mean? So I really think it has a lot to do with the artist's image of what you're looking at when you're comparing decks. And I was curious, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to ask you what made you go with the Crystal Visions in your little comparison?
Okay, and for those who haven't watched it, there's the Steampunk, Crystal Visions, and Gothic Tarot. I find those all to be so diverse in artwork, and really, it was just about I was looking for the most opposite decks I could possibly get because then the artwork would give a very unique style. I thought about doing the book of Shadow Tarots because they're both tarot decks, but they're related, and it would be the same message is going to end up coming through because of the style of the artwork. But with the Crystal Visions, I'm learning more and more that there are some traditional aspects of the art in the Rider-Waite style, but I'm like, I don't get it. I don't.
Yeah.
But it's more so with the Gothic Tarot. That is very far afield, and a lot of the images like don't get it at all. Like, it doesn't make sense. But then I'll see in all three decks like three cards that are almost identical in imagery. It's very unique.
Yeah.
That was my reasoning.
How did you stumble upon or how did you find that Crystal Visions deck?
I think I just saw a review on YouTube. That's how I usually find my decks. I see, I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Like Owl Moon 13 or something. She does a lot of reviews. Oh God, what is her name? Like Divinatory something, I think.
Yeah.
She does a lot. And I just watch them mainly just to see what new decks are being reviewed, and if I get a instant like connection with it without even seeing it firsthand. Because sometimes I'll see a review and then I'll go to a store and they'll have an open deck and I'll be like, no, I don't feel that connection.
So I'm going to tell you a little story about the Crystal Visions deck.
Okay.
It's the artist of the Crystal Visions deck. Her name is Jennifer Galasso, and she lives in Bristol, Rhode Island, which is maybe 30 minutes from where I live. And I actually met Jennifer before the Crystal Visions Tarot came out at the Three Cents Metaphysical shop that I work at on Thursdays. I met her in person, and actually at the time she was there because the owner of the shop was doing like a local artist and sort of highlighting, and she does other things other than the tarot deck. She does other imagery.
Yeah, that seems to be pretty common with the artists.
Right. So I met her, and then I think it was a year later that my husband and I decided to be hand fasted, and I commissioned from her our hand fasting invitation. And I actually have it hanging on the wall. I bought the original print from her. And every year I call her or email her, and she actually does my Samhain open house invitations every single year since the year I met her. I have my own copy of her Crystal Visions Tarot. It's signed, and I remember when she said she was doing a deck. So Jennifer Galasso is like a near and dear friend of mine. So it really piqued my interest when I saw that you were using her deck in your comparison.
You can see by if I ever show the box, I'm just like, it's falling apart.
It's just one of those little synchronicities, Tara, that really I'm like, oh my God, she's using Jen's deck. This is amazing.
It's a good deck for kids too. It's pretty kid friendly, and the artwork can draw kids in it because it's cartoony.
Yeah.
So it's not like,
and it has the mermaids and the like angels
fairies
and fairies.
Stuff.
Yeah.
It's not drastically like gory or anything.
No, yeah, it's not. It's not. It's very pretty. I really like. I have that deck too myself, obviously. But yeah, I like her deck.
Cool.
So I figured I'd share that with you. So, what is your favorite type of client? So you're reading for people. Do you have a favorite type? I'm not, I'm not like calling anyone out, but are there questions that clients come to you with that you really like to do because you can really sink your teeth into that?
I like doing past life readings. Those are pretty much
Yeah.
my like number one. I'm just like, ooh, these are fun. And the things that come from my own head, I'm like, how did I know this stuff? It's like, I don't know how I know it. But
Yeah.
I can get pretty detailed about like eras and stuff. I think some of it is just information I've at some point learned and it's in my head and
Hmm.
it just is coming out because that's what I'm focused on. I don't really know. But I do really, really enjoy doing past life readings. I think it's really fascinating. Like I've even done a really quick multi-reading to my husband because he doesn't believe in none of this at all. He's atheist. He's just like whatever. Um, but I did like 5 past life readings for him. But he was actually like he, he was humored, but he was actually interested in knowing about these things. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, I see how that relates to my life. Um, but I would say my favorite type of customer um, would be someone who's enthusiastic about one getting the reading and a response and saying like that is so spot on, this is how it relates, da 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 da, and they'll be willing to actually share how it relates to them because most of the people I read for, I don't know them from Adam.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and so it's like, ooh, I'm glad that hit home for you.
Yeah.
Because regardless
Yeah.
of how long you read, I think you innately kind of feel like, oh, I hope that makes sense and I hope that relates to something because there's that little questioning yourself, I think, for a lot of readers that I don't think ever goes away. And it's probably a good thing we sometimes question ourselves. Like, this innately feels right to say, but should I say it kind of a thing.
Hmm. Hmm. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And I agree. I like past life readings too. And I think the readings or the clients I really enjoy are the ones, again, that, like you said, that are enthusiastic and who are eager to get the information. But I like those readings that really go deep, that
Mm-hmm.
really you think they start out, just like nice and,
Mm-hmm.
oh, yeah, here's your, and then all of a sudden you find that you found something and you end up following that thread and it goes deeper and deeper than what you first imagined, and the client may not even realize how deep this insight or this information that you're sharing really gets to them. And I think that I really like exploring information and exploring situations and insights with a client is what I really enjoy, like
Mm-hmm.
really getting to the deep stuff.
Yeah, I
you know
remember watching you do one of the free readings. I don't remember who it was, and it's a long time ago, probably over a year, but it was about someone who you were doing a reading and it said something about them possibly moving to like South America for work and the potential different things that could go wrong if they win or right. And it was like, ooh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like exploring different things.
Mhm.
So looking at your client base, what are the most common types of questions that you get, or the common type of client, the situations that they're dealing with? What do they most commonly ask about in a tarot reading from you?
Well, a lot of times the past life is just, what is my past life? But that's
Yeah.
pretty duh. Um, I would say I'm trying to think because I do have an Etsy shop and I'm trying to think of what the top ones were. A lot of them are like the shadow readings. People like to kind of get a idea of what's behind an issue and how they can deal with it. Because I think
Mhm.
there are some people like me who have no issue just going head first into the darkness, into the shadow working. But some people are really hesitant to just be like, oh, I know it's there, but I really don't want to acknowledge it because if I acknowledge it, it's gonna make everything implode, which is not true, or generally not true. Um, and I like to try to help people kind of find ways of dealing with those issues and accepting those issues and moving on from those issues. But that's a big one, and of course, relationship questions. Everybody wants to know about love and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It's
think
kind of a
that's
default for everyone.
yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that's, I mean, if you look at, health, wealth, love, career. If you look at those four, which I feel like are like the major ones, you can kind of set all the readings in each of them. The past life is sort of separate.
Like
But I think,
spiritual.
yeah, I think the majority of clients I find want to know about love, relationships. Yeah. One of our viewers, Karen, said that she's having a hard time resonating with the Rider-Waite deck, and she wants to know if we have any recommendations for another deck for someone who's just beginning to explore the tarot.
Well, I can understand completely because I don't have any interest in the Rider-Waite deck at all, or many variations of it. I don't know why. It just kind of, you sometimes feel like a super connection to deck, and then there's some that you're like, stoplight. There's just nothing. I guess it would also depend on what that person may be interested in doing with their reading as a beginner. Like if it's going to strictly be personal, or if they're going to go into, they would like to eventually get to a point where doing tarot reading as a profession. I'm trying to think of the decks I had at first. My first one was the Egyptian tarot, but it was definitely a Rider-Waite system and very, very looking like a Rider-Waite deck. I didn't have a really good time with it until I basically stumbled across the steampunk, and that it got me going so easily because the images are very clear, even with the traditional meanings. Like the lovers are clear, the minor arcana are pretty much very on point for the traditional meanings, and it's a Rider-Waite style, but it's very unique art, but simplistic enough that it's easy to understand. Like, as you know, there's some cards where with the cups, I think what is it, like the 5 of Cups, which often has 3 cups spilled and 2 cups upright. In the picture, it's a guy drunk on the bar. So it gives an image where you can understand how it could be applied in maybe real life. I think steampunk would honestly be it's not advanced at all. It's pretty easy to read.
Yeah.
That was really a long explanation.
Jen's the Crystal Vision is a Rider-Waite based deck too, and that one's pretty simplistic. I personally find that cards or decks that use the Rider-Waite as sort of structure, but then that particular artist takes it and uses their interpretation, I feel give you enough to explore if you're going to read intuitively. So you'll get some of the traditional meanings if you look at the image, like you were suggesting, like with that 5 of Cups in the steampunk. It gives you the traditional meanings, and it still has the symbolisms within it, but then it gives you a different scenario, like you were suggesting. So Karen, it's really going to, and I think what you're drawn to, I mean, if you're not drawn to a darker image or you like brighter colors, then like steampunk may not appeal to you because it seems to be a little darker, browns, blacks, those kind of colors. Where on the total other side of the spectrum, Jen's Crystal Visions is all bright, pretty pinks, purples colors. So yeah, it's like feminine and masculine energies within the 2 decks there. So I think that exploring that might be good for you.
And what is that website? It's like eclectic.
Oh yeah, not aesthetic.
Tarot,
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
They have a huge forums, and they have lists of tarot deck upon tarot deck, and just honestly, just go to Google Images. That's how I find a lot of my decks. Honestly.
Those YouTube videos when people do reviews, those are great too. I agree. I had a few more questions, but unfortunately we're coming to about an hour, and we started a little late, but we're going to have to end anyway because I have other appointments waiting for me. Hopefully, thank you all for joining. I mean, our viewers have gone we're at 12 now, and I hope everybody has enjoyed this episode. This was great, Tara. This was I like this. We're going to do it again next week.
Yeah.
I know we have a list of topics. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. We still need to
we'll
come up with
figure it
some
out.
sort of structure for
Feel free
what we're
to
gonna
ask
do.
any questions we haven't answered in the comment section, and I'll definitely go through and answer when I see questions.
Yeah, me
or
too.
contact me or the Sacred Circle on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah. I think Tara and I are both pretty good about answering comments and responding to comments, especially on these videos, because we definitely want to have some interaction with our viewers. That's the whole idea, to get conversations started with the people who are watching. If you have comments about or suggestions on what you'd like to see us discuss, I think Tara and I have, like I said before, enough in common, but enough differences too, where we can give different perspectives on topics. So don't be shy about contacting us. You're welcome, Karen. Karen says, thank you, Tara and Cricket. You're welcome, Karen.
Thanks for watching, you guys.
Yeah, love you all.